Okay, everyone, settle down now.
Yo, everyone, this is Chesky, and I just wanted to give a shout out to DOD45 and their special guest Dope Knife, who just released an excellent album on Fake 4 called The Dope One. Highly suggest you check it out. Happy holidays, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
DOD45. This is the DOD45 show, drawing over discussions 45 minutes with a special guest. Welcome. I'm your host and resident artist, Tai of Art by Tai, and with my co-host, Adrienne Taiwali'i, we're having conversations with people who I admire and am inspired by. On this episode, I'll set a 45-minute timer, put my pen to the paper, and we'll learn about our guest through an interview-style discussion. So stay right here with us to experience some laughs and maybe even learn a thing or two. Okay, here we are, racing the clock again, as always. Today.
Show and tell?
Yeah. Show and tell. Our guest today, Dope Knife.
Papa told me, boy, get your weight up, get this paper, get a baker, stack dough so you can get your cake up, F your neighbor, get a grip, lettuce with the extra chips, cheddar and some fetishes with plans to be forever rich. That dream was a tad out of context, promises now that was a lie. Honestly, we stuck in a contest, most way slaves pay taxes and die. I won't respond, don't judge, everybody want a chance to be a Rockefeller. Legit or legit, stare at the gavel or judge, get sick and sing acapella. I be like Schmiegel, I want the ring, I want the
Dope Knife, right? Okay, cool.
I know. I think I just heard somebody say that on the intro. I think it was AWOL. Chesky. Who was it? Who introduced him today?
I don't know yet. I'm going to ask Chesky. I forgot. I just totally lost sight of what I was.
Oh, that's okay. This morning you were telling me about some sort of attack on the grid in South Carolina, North Carolina?
North Carolina, but I didn't read anything about it.
And that was this morning as this is being recorded, so as it airs we'll know more, but that's interesting. It reminds me of when I brought up the manual override on the dam energy processing thing.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up to you. That's stuff
I'm constantly thinking about if somebody stops your grid, and how are we going to survive in a winter when there's no power,
Yep.
water, heat, gas,
firewood, alcohol, and guns.
pond water.
Gross. Yeah, well, that's what the fire is for. You melt ice. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, did you want to know something real quick, or did you want to keep going on that topic?
No, whatever.
A lot of doom and gloom.
I don't think of it that way. I think of it as a reason to think harder, to be prepared.
Yeah, to prepare yourself for it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so be prepared in case there is an attack on your grid.
We're from Utah, so we can't help but being preppers. It's in
It's in the bloodline.
like of some sort of preparedness.
Yeah.
Because of being taught in school about the earthquake and then having all the LDS people save food.
Yeah, it's a big thing. We're from Utah. Our guest is from Savannah. Yeah, I think
okay.
maybe you knew that.
I don't.
But I was just going to tell you something that I thought was pretty interesting about Savannah. A real quick one. I like the giving up some information because I'm a big fan of gaining knowledge.
Oh, I thought you said gaming.
No, gaining knowledge. Like I like to hear information. I don't know. That's what we seem to
All
thrive
people,
off of.
I think, are curious
Curiosity.
by nature.
Well, here's some curious things, and people already know it, but it's a historical thing. But did you know that Savannah was a Christmas gift to President Lincoln in the Civil War?
No, just the city alone.
Yeah.
Does that have a low water table like Louisiana? Is it
probably.
a threat?
I don't know. Well, the Union General Sherman, he had burned Atlanta to the ground during his infamous southbound march in the Civil War. But when he arrived in Savannah, the city's beautiful city inspired him to spare it because he was going along burning in places. So instead of destroying it like he did at Atlanta, he sent a telegraph of Savannah with its all the squares, all the cool little squares and the greenery, and he sent that to President Lincoln, offering the city to him as a Christmas present.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, isn't General Sherman the name of the tree in California?
Sherman trees or General
No,
Sherman?
that big, the main,
Oh, I don't know.
the big one.
See? Sharing
Red,
knowledge.
what is it? The redwood forest? Are they redwoods?
Yes. Oh, Sherman, but aren't they just Sherman trees? Or are you saying they're General Sherman?
I think that one was named. Shoot, I don't know. What is that called? The redwoods?
Yeah. Where we rode our motorcycle when we went for the motorcycle ride to the redwood forest. That was fun. Except you were pregnant, so it wasn't all that fun. Or were you pregnant at that ride?
Yeah, but my pregnancies didn't affect me.
I know, but you were riding on the back seat.
Yeah, but that was because of your stupid decision,
shitty
not because of me being
seat.
pregnant. You bought the worst seat for me you could find.
Not on purpose. I read that it was like this awesome gel seat.
The General Sherman tree is the world's largest tree measured by volume.
Named after Union General Sherman.
Probably.
Is there anything? I got caught. I went down a rabbit hole of Antarctica this morning.
Antarctica?
Yeah. You want to hear some things
Is that
about
the one
Antarctica?
that's below?
Well, here's this.
On the bottom of the globe?
Since you're Miss Geography, here, I'll give you. So,
The Arctic is north and Antarctic is south?
yes, because I'll tell you why, yes. Antarctica is the 5th largest continent. There's no native population. And it's on, I swear it's like, 5 other nations share. I don't remember who they, like South America.
South America's right there. Africa.
Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah, like 5 other countries share the land.
See, New
part
Zealand's
land of it.
north. Is Australia maybe one?
Yeah, it's funny. I was down the rabbit hole, but I wasn't down that part of the rabbit hole where Antarctica was, because I forget that there's an Arctica and an Antarctica.
Oh.
Is that the truth?
The Arctic.
Oh, South Pole. Yes.
the North Pole.
Yes, Antarctica is the South Pole. Well,
And Santa lives in the
North Pole. Yeah. Shit.
Why? Why shit?
Well, because I almost forgot where he was.
Yeah, there's not much life on the southern one, right? Just penguins or something?
Yeah, there are penguins. In fact, some scientists found some penguin mummies recently, and they're doing studies, and they believe that they're these or how long they were from prehistoric. Oh shit! Damn it!
Just organically mummified.
Yeah, 'cause of the cold.
King penguins didn't mummify. Pharaoh.
No, they were
pharaoh
just
penguin.
yeah. Here are some things that I thought were pretty interesting in this whole article I was reading. They found some strange oval shape there in the coldest region.
What does that mean?
From the scientists found some huge oval shape, and they can't explain it because it's in such a cold region. There's really no way that humans could have built it.
Could have been a volcano.
Well, they say it could have been those wind drift things, but they don't normally form these oval shapes. They think it was a man-made thing, but they can't figure out how they would have built it there because it's so
negative, so negative,
so cold. It's like land that you couldn't even really. I thought that was pretty interesting. There's this thing called the Piri Reis map. Piri Reis map made by some Turkish admiral guy in 1513. But the map is a map of Antarctica, the South Pole, and it has the shorelines of Africa, South America, and South Asia on this map. But it was done in 1513, which is like 8 years, just barely 8 years after that. I don't know, some other famous dude. Anyway, they're disputing its authenticity. Scientists dispute this authenticity because it's not the way it's shaped now. So some scientists say it must just been a fake.
Oh, that's
map
ridiculous,
that the guy
though,
put up. I know.
Because if you're traveling by boat, mapping shorelines.
Yeah, you should. If you're interested in that stuff, you should Google this Piri Reis map, the Turkish guy. It's just like a really detailed map. Those what do you call those those sailor? What do you call them? Navigators. What do you call those people that sailed the seas and? Well, anyway,
pirates.
that did like mapping of the oceans and. Anyway, they say it's different than the other map, and so, or not different, but they're just, the scientists are like fighting, like some say maybe it's a fit or not a well done map, and other scientists say it's probably how the landscape may have been. Thought that was pretty interesting. There's the largest and deepest lake in under that's 2,700 meters under ice. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. That was discovered in '96. And they think that possibly the sediment at the bottom of this lake is like it's pre-glacier sediment. And if they haven't been able to test it, haven't got down there, but it would emphasize that it's from a lake existing from 15 million years ago.
You know, when these start to melt, I think some of the bacteria come back to life. And so we'll be introduced to prehistoric bacteria and stuff, which is interesting.
I just saw that the Amazon dude is very much considering...
Elon Musk?
No, the Amazon. I think it was the Amazon guy.
Bezos?
Yeah, I think he's really, really into wanting to create a Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. I know. I brought this up the other day with somebody. Sounds like a great idea while he's... getting ready to go build his little bubble on Mars.
Yeah, well, I don't know which one it was because the headline just said billionaire astronaut. So that could have been either one of them.
Yeah. Well, the other one has better astronaut stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, maybe it is Elon Musk because, yeah, he's got the SpaceX.
Right.
I just wanted to bring up, too, our we spoke about the partnership with Handsmade.
Yeah.
We haven't gone over some specific things of what's coming up, but while I was texting with Zach, he's the one that runs the company. We did come up, or he did tell me some things. So there's a new double EP coming out of Mestizo, in the end of December.
A double EP, that means 2 records, or front and back.
Yes. Okay. And Mestizo, we're gonna probably have him in as a guest. I kind of just bailed on the Antarctic stuff. I thought it was getting a little too technical. It was just an interesting article.
Oh, no, you weren't really going anywhere with it.
You know where the McMurdo dry valleys that's in the Antarctic? It's like 3,000 mile stretch of mostly drier. McMurdo, I think is what it is. The dry valleys in Antarctica.
What do you think? Dry valleys
dry,
or dry?
D-R-Y, dry valleys. It's a high concentration of salt, magnesium, and potassium. But anyway, fossils were found there from woody plants dating back 50 to 100 million years ago. And they're not native plants to the area, but they think they possibly arrived by wind or whatever about 70 million years ago.
Sorry, I didn't listen to what you just said.
Well, this information is sort of ruins a lot of... I guess that's why a lot of people hate science or don't want science.
I think it was mostly just... I think... Catholics
but it ruins...
came to accept it. I think it was the evangelicals, don't quote me, who were really against evolution. I think a lot of the other ones accept some degree of it.
Well, because how long ago was the Adam and Eve thing supposed to have taken place?
I don't know, like 100 years ago.
100. Did you also know that the Antarctic is where, underneath there, is where scientists actually believe a possibility that the lost city of Atlantis is?
No, I don't believe that for a second.
Plato wrote about that Atlantis. He described it in a book, and it with so much detail of the city that existed in the southern tip of Africa. And
so technically it would be.
And they think that the city they have found like artifacts and stuff down there. So they're getting more and more belief, but they can't, there's no way you can prove that unless they find this whole city, but it's possible. I want to know something else I learned about? I'm way into scientists recently. I saw a headline that they discovered that binge eating sweet treats is probably influenced by a gut microbiome.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago that if you have like a craving for chocolate, you're lacking in something else, like a deep craving, one of those
I've got all kinds of gut microbiomes then.
Well, you need them.
Well,
It's all connected.
All they want to do is eat sweets.
Your gut is directly connected to your brain. No, really.
No, I know. I was.
That's why you need to take or eat probiotics.
Well, those were all notes that I wrote down that I thought were interesting things.
Yeah, it's pretty good. What something I think is interesting. Every time I open a blog or an article or anything that you have to read through, you get to the bottom of the article, and there's always like an ad for nasty earwax. They start showing you this disgusting. No. Why are you shaking your head? Do you get those all? I don't know why. You're getting it
because it's
I've been getting specific, it for years.
It's specific to something you must have Googled.
Like 10 years ago?
Probably
it's
because
so gross.
Because that mine I get, what are my ads? Something for
for
a little
nasty.
while.
It just starts like, ugh.
Yeah, that's just specific to you. That's crazy too. All
it
the
makes me crazy.
Specific.
Like I cringe when I start like slowing down when I feel like I'm getting to the bottom of the article so I don't have to see them. It's gross.
Yeah. It is gross. Earwax is gross. You were just cleaning our son's ear.
Well, his, yes. Our family's earwax, fine, whatever. If someone gets an earache, we can handle that. But I don't want to see other people digging into ears like that. I don't know how that, I've heard of that pimple popper TV show. I don't even know.
Why would you want to watch
I don't
that?
know.
It's fucking gross.
I don't know. Anyway, I guess we should take a short break and
we do
come back.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back with Dope Knife, and we are speaking about his new album, The Dope One. I think it was released on Fake 4. Okay, we'll be right back with Dope Knife.
DOD45. Hot sauce.
We're real thrilled to have partnered with Hot Sauce for 3 simple reasons. Their hot sauce is delicious, the owner and creator David is a solid dude, and they collaborate with dope artists for their labels, including myself. Boom. Amplify your favorite foods with their award-winning flavors. Head over to hobsauces.com to get yourself some absolutely delicious artisan hot sauce. Hit it, Bobby.
Have sauce. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Put it on your food.
Hot sauce.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the world. My name is Tony, and I have a podcast, too. I know what you're saying. I already know. Okay, but I have a podcast, too. Just like you, just like your grandma, just like your grandma's neighbor. We all have podcasts, except mine is different. I'm different. I was born different. The Speaker Face podcast is fun. It will teach you probably nothing. You cannot smell it, and you definitely can taste it. Speaker Face podcast by me, AWOL1, and I talk to my friends. I talk to musicians, artists, all kinds of creative people, all kinds of human beings. I do like little songs and little freestyles and skits. And so after you're done listening to DOD45 with my man Tai, which is a very, 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 very interesting podcast that you should religiously watch and listen to, after you're done, check out speakerface.store for the Speaker Face podcast. And you could also listen to it wherever other podcasts are podcasting. You know what I'm saying? So check it out, Speaker Face podcast. Your life will be better. I don't promise.
Speaker Face podcast.
Check out our new partners, Brim of the World, a.k.a. Seek, Conquer, and Destroy, a.k.a. Aliens Built Earth. I'm always wearing their gear, especially the hats, and in almost every episode of the DOD45, you'll see me rocking something from these cats, because I'm a fan. Show them some love and treat yourself right to a new wardrobe or some new headgear, and I'm not talking about braces headgear, I'm talking about hats. Check out all their gear and links at brimoftheworld.com. Hey, real quick, my friends, my art is available for purchase at artbytai.com. So if you like what you're seeing or you want to support the DOD45 show, the best way for you to do that is to pick up a print or an original at my website. If you're not quite ready to buy, but you still want to help out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you stream from. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Art by Tai and engage in the comments. That goes a long way. All right, enough already. Let's get back to the show.
Listen.
DOD45.
Okay. All right. Welcome to our show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, really a pleasure to have you on. What before I start getting into it, I always struggle with when I'm speaking to someone with a moniker. Do people call you Dope Knife, or what do you?
My real name's Kendrick Mack, but all my friends call me Mac. So
okay.
I mean, I would prefer Mac. It's kind of weird for when,
sure,
because I mean, no one has any one thing that they say. Like some people say dope, and then some people just say knife.
Yeah,
it all feels kind of, I don't know. I would imagine it's like what a wrestler feels like if they're in the street and somebody's like, "Hey, Chris, The Rock, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, I have an actual name. You know.
Yeah. It's because most of our guests on the show definitely have some sort of moniker, but some people go by they've gone by that name for so long that it's just normal to them,
and it's like their nickname, like amongst their friends, I totally get it, and I guess some of it kind of depends on what the name means to you. I always kind of thought of Dope Knife as a name just being more like a description of the music. It's what the musical project is called, as opposed to me. It would be like if somebody called Trent Reznor Nine Inch Nails. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Nine Inch Nails. It's like, no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad to understand that.
Right.
I never want to disrespect anybody of what they prefer to be referred to as. So.
Oh no, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all love. It's not really
cool.
It's
cool.
It's just something if I had to say what I prefer, but I really don't mind
Mac.
at all.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. That's good news. And yes, I do know your real name because our first few questions are Sophie's Choice questions, and they usually are based on your name. So
Okay, cool.
We got this in the house.
Oh yes.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
for the
of course.
support, yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I'm a big fan. And
have you dig it? Have you gotten to listen to the album yet?
Yeah, quite a bit. Especially when I'm going to have a guest on and someone that's agreed to be on our show, I'll go all in, and this show is not what we do for a living. My art is what we do for a living. So I spend my money on artists.
Yeah,
I like to support the arts.
Hey,
plus,
thank you, man.
Chesky's a homie, so I like supporting Fake 4 as well. So
yeah, Chesky's a big homie to me. Yeah, for real.
All right, How is everything before I start the timer to start drawing your drawing? How is everything? How's life? How are things for you?
Everything's going good right now. I mean, I'm still, doing the usual post-album stuff. I have a video coming out on Christmas with Jarv.
I'm like, yo, I'm on my way to record. Motherfucker, this war, better pray to the Lord. I'm like, yo, I'm on my way to record. Motherfucker, this war, better pray to the Lord. I'm on my way to record.
Family's good. I just went home for Thanksgiving. I've got a new girlfriend. That's going great. You know what I mean? Everything.
Yeah.
I can't complain about everything. About anything. To be honest with you, so I'm just.
Are you the type that gets worried when things start going well?
In the sense of like, will something go wrong?
Yeah, whenever things start getting too well for me, I get very concerned. Like,
Yes,
oh shit,
yeah.
that the bottom's gonna drop out or something.
Yeah, I'm very much like a creature of habit. So I always have to fight myself from being too comfortable. You know what I mean? So that definitely creeps up. But at the same time, usually, I think. I mean, when I was younger, I used to think, "Oh man, you know, tortured artist life. You know, that's where the source of my pain is. But the older that I get, it's like the more happy and stable that I am. I think like the iller my shit is. So I try to keep it. You know, I try to keep the
Balance.
vibes up these days. You know what I'm saying?
I found that a lot with people that the older you get, the less you rely on, for artists anyways, older artists, the older you get, the less you rely on the pain and struggle because or I guess maybe it's if you started reaching some of those peaks that you were going towards, that gives you a reason like, oh, I want to start writing about, now I've got to this level.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that it applies to like just most artists, but it's like if stuff is tumultuous around, like if stuff is tumultuous in your life, then you're going through stuff possibly that is fodder for, you know what I mean, some really compelling art, but when the fuck are you really gonna have time in the headspace to create that? You know what I mean? So
well, it's catch-22 because when you get too comfortable, you start going like,
exactly.
I want to just enjoy the comfortable part.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I totally feel you. I mean, I'm definitely not at that stage of comfort, but just in the sense of, I always tend to think of things like it could be worse, you know? So in that sense, it's like on all fronts, things could be worse. So I'm just thankful for what it is, you know.
That's a good attitude. Things could be worse.
If I was saying that and I was like couch potato, then I think legitimately you could look at it with skepticism. But like I put in work, so at least for me that's what works. You know what I'm saying?
I know I already said it, but I really am. I'm a big fan of your work. I really like it.
Man.
Yeah, you're really good, man. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna just set this timer. So I got a specific drawing for you, just idea-wise. You said that you liked skulls, so there's gonna be a skull in here.
All right, though.
And they're always like the hardest thing for me to draw, but I like.
Yeah,
drawing them.
I got like 3 skull tattoos, and just like if I had like an end goal and like all my tattoo work, it would just be like different animal skulls, but in different styles and stuff like that. Not like, just with different artists, but like a cow skull or like a bird skull and a cat's, that sort of stuff. I don't know why. I don't. It's not even necessary. I just, from a design element, I like the way those things look when they're drawn.
Agree.
So it's not even.
Yeah, you're not like super emo. It's really about death.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I actually have a skull. I have skull collections, so I collect skulls on all kinds of animal skulls. So
yeah,
but I'm not like fat. I'm not like way into death or any of that. It's just I like the way they look. I don't know. They're very interesting. So
yeah, no, I mean, for me personally, it's like even when people like ask me that, it's always hard for me to even like understand why that's just necessarily associated with like, you know what I mean, like a dark vibe, as opposed to like, oh nah, I just like, some motherfuckers like flowers, like like some people just like the way they look, and I consider it to be the same sort of thing. Like that.
Were you into where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a bunch of different places, but never like one specific place. Okay. My father worked for the State Department when I was a kid, the State Department. So that could have been a bunch of stuff, but we traveled from country to country like every 2 or 3 years. My mom is Liberian. So like the first 6-7 years of my life, we were in Liberia until the Civil War there broke out. And then we evacuated because of my father's job. We were able to get some of my mom's family out, but not all of them. But we wanted to stay in Africa so that she could help, people who were in Liberia like get out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
from there, we did like a quick, say quick, but we did 3 years in Toronto after we left Liberia, and then went back to Africa in like we were in Cameroon for 2 years, Senegal for like 3 years, and then I graduated high school in Singapore. What? And then I didn't move to the States to live until I was 18, going to college.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa! So where's your? So you have a multiple citizenships, or
no? I'm an American citizen.
American citizen?
My older brother. I mean, my older brother's an American citizen, but he was born in Liberia. But my mom had me in Baltimore, which is where my dad's from, and she had my little brother in Baltimore as well. My little sister was born in Liberia, so it's on and off.
Yeah. Can you have multiple citizenships with Liberia? I know some countries allow it, but
yeah. So I mean, if I don't know for sure, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but if any country would allow it, it probably would be Liberia, because Liberia was like probably the closest thing that America's like had to like a full scale colony. For example, they were using the American dollar in Liberia until 1990 when the war broke out. Like that was the currency for like the first 4 presidents of Liberia. If you look, they look like George Washington for real. You know what I mean? Like historically. So it's just, so it has that connection to it. So I imagine I probably could get dual citizenship, but that hasn't really been
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't been something that I've been thinking about recently, but I mean, the way things are going, I probably want to travel again. So
yeah,
I find it curious that you have an American accent, having been raised in all of these other places.
I'm like a huge movie nerd, like for real. And I draw too. I draw comic books and stuff, and I was really heavy into that when I was a kid. So I didn't speak English until I was 6, and I learned like a mixture of Hooked on Phonics, Calvin and Hobbes, and like just watching the shit out of movies. So it's like from the time I was a kid, I was always trying to like emulate different actors and characters' voices and stuff. So I don't know, just something about that and the attention to pronunciation and accent and stuff. It was just something.
It was something you worked on. You kind of actively worked on.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily. I would say subconsciously worked on.
Yeah. But you were learning it basically from American.
Yeah.
But I mean, your ears were hearing an American way of speaking.
Don't get me wrong. Like my father sounds like I do. You know what I mean? So like my father spoke like that too. But again, me and my girlfriend just went up to Virginia, which is where most of my family lives now. And she got to see like the Liberian side of my family, and she was like, man, like you were going in and out of accents like while you were talking to like people, and I didn't even realize it. Like I couldn't even imitate to you what she's describing, because it's just
he does that.
More of a subconscious thing. No, I mean, I don't want to misinterpret that. They speak English
in
Liberia.
Sure.
I mean, it's obviously accented, but they speak English in Liberia. But when I was a baby, the first place we went before Liberia, when I was a real little baby, was in Sierra Leone. And there I picked up Creole. So
really?
Yeah, and so there it like actually was like, my mom always tells me that it was like an actual concern, because they were like, yo, he speaks Creole and like he won't stop. And I spoke Creole until I was like 4 or 5, like I said.
Do you still?
No, not at all. Okay. I did study French because we always lived in French speaking countries. So I studied French all throughout like school and high school and shit. And when I graduated, like by the time I got to college, I would say I spoke French pretty fluently. But the next thing you know, 10 years go by, you haven't spoken with anybody, you've been drinking, you've been smoking. The next thing you know, 5 more years go by, it's like, oh shit, like damn near 2 decades have gone by, I haven't spoken French with anybody.
But I'm sure if you go to a French-speaking country, it'll take very little time for you to pick it back up.
I would hope. Like I can watch a movie and I can be like, oh, that subtitle's kind of like not what they're saying, but I don't think I could hold I couldn't hold a confident conversation with somebody right now if I had to.
Well, what was your first language before you?
As I said, Creole.
Oh, Creole. Oh, okay.
Yeah, So it was Creole, then English, and then like English and French. But I mean, nobody in my family speaks French. My little brother got pretty good at French, but he was, by the time we moved out of French speaking countries, you know what I'm saying, he was too little to really like not just jump into to English afterwards.
Right. All right. Well, here, let me hit you with a couple of Sophie's choices. Who do you think has more influence on hip hop, Kendrick Lamar or Kendrick Jeru the Damaja?
I would say it would have to be Jeru the Damaja, just because, like, you know, like the thing with a lot of the older cats, like the quote unquote golden era cats, is like no matter what came after them, they set so many precedents, like stylistically and technique wise, that it's like you got to give them props. So I would say the reverberations of what Jeru the Damaja did, probably in terms of like, you know, people really going in with multi-syllables and shit like that. Like that shit still reverberates to the day, where that influences like Kendrick more than Kendrick has, you know.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it's just like whatever it is that Kendrick Lamar is bringing to the table, I think it would require like 10, 15 years to like really analyze like that. Whereas like Jeru the Damaja, you can be like, oh, with Jeru the Damaja, you can actually be like, oh yeah, people weren't rapping like this until after guys like him.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very, yeah, that's very well said.
Kendrick Lamar's been around for 10 years, and I mean, I can't say that he is the dominant, you know what I mean, rap style that current people are rapping in.
Yeah, maybe in 30 years from now, then that
if
changes.
If 30 years from now, if like the average rap album is like To Pimp a Butterfly, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
like of that sort of like concept magnitude, it's like, oh man, you see when Kendrick came out, everybody started like. But we don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. It's yet to be told.
Yeah.
Who would you rather spend a day at McDonald's with, Mac Lethal or Mac Miller?
Mac Miller. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even like that big of a Mac Miller fan, but I really like cats who are prolific about like that and that are about like the craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like even if I'm not necessarily like the biggest Mac Miller fan, like in terms of the music he was making, like I'm a huge fan of the fact that he was making so much of it. You know what I mean? Like from the production to the albums and stuff like that. It's just super interesting to me, like going in and out of those headspaces to have that much creative output. Yeah, I can't. I would want to if I had to spend a day in McDonald's, first of all.
Someplace to be.
Yeah, well, and it was just the I was going to say McDowell's, but had I had known that you were a big movie fan, I would have had more movie references because I'm a huge movie buff.
Yeah, it's probably more interesting things happening at a McDowell's than at a McDonald's, for sure.
Here's another one. In this unlikely bizarro scenario that you could only make music as a duo with these two, who do you think you'd make more bangers with, Craig Mack or Mac Dre?
I'm gonna say Craig Mack. Because, like, especially like if it was Craig Mack passed away, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
He had a heart attack.
Yeah, so assume, like, just in the hypothetical, since it's all hypothetical, if Craig Mack was still alive, I think, like, my more faster style and his, like, old man style would be I haven't seen that duo yet. I mean, somebody tell me if I'm not thinking of someone, but has there been, like, a real older guy and younger person?
No, but that's dope.
Duo?
I like that concept. No, I not that I know of. Yeah.
Like,
but maybe there is, but I don't. But I can't think of any.
I mean, there's definitely crews where it's like maybe the forefront figure is, you know,
How old are we talking? Because there's a song with Earl Sweatshirt and the RZA.
Yeah, but they're
and
not.
RZA's like 50, 60.
Yeah, but
isn't he now?
they collaborated together. That's not
just
necessarily.
a collab, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if I mean like a duo. Like for example,
Okay.
if the RZA and Earl Sweatshirt were like, "Yo, we're doing an album."
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they were
Right.
like, "We're gonna be a new Run the Jewels,"
Okay.
That would be
okay.
interesting.
Something like that.
Well, yeah, I guess Killer Mike's about the same age as LP, right? I guess.
Yeah.
They're in the no.
No,
I'm talking-
I think Killer
I'm
Mike's
talking-
pretty young.
Yeah, you're talking, but we're talking Craig Mack age.
I want decades. I want decades gap. Like I want somebody who like sound like is of the SoundCloud age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like doing something with somebody who's like I would want to see like Ice-T and
Ooh, I like this already, though.
Ice-T is like my favorite rapper, so I would want to. You know what? Fuck it. I would want to do something with Ice-T. I love Craig Mack. I love Mac Dre, but I would want to do a collaboration with Ice-T.
That'd be dope. And yeah, and we could push that out because he is still alive. So because Mac Dre's not alive either.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sidetrack anything, but like,
no, you're fine.
a lot when I say that, a lot of people think that I'm saying it ironically, and I'm not. Like before, I didn't start rapping until senior year in high school. I'm not one of these cats who's been doing it since they were like 12 or 8 or something like that. So for me, and on top of that, I wasn't even a fan like hardcore like that. Like I was aware of hip hop. My older brother was really into it. There were rappers that I liked because I liked songs. You know what I mean? So I like the song, the guy who made that song. I like that song, the guy who made that song. But I didn't get into hip hop on some like hip hop head shit until I was 18. So for me, there was always like the rappers that I was able to like find interest in before I was really into hip hop. Those have been like the rappers that no matter, and it goes all over the place too, because like Ice-T wasn't a crazy rhyming lyricist, you know what I mean, master, but he was just like the perfect combination of like knowledge, ignorant shit, funny shit, you know what I mean? Like it was just like all like straight up like a picture of Ice-T from 1992 should be like in the fucking dictionary for MC, you know what I mean? Like straight up. So I don't mean that as a joke. Like I actually own Ice-T albums and like know the songs. Like that is the god. So
Yeah.
if there's any way he hears this.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I was just gonna ask: is Ice-T even still rapping, or is he just doing movies?
He's still going heavy with Body Count.
Yeah, he's toured with
his metal band. Yeah, he's
Oh.
been to. They were like touring like after like as soon as COVID was done.
Yeah.
and shit.
Oh, okay.
But you know he is still dropping like every now and then he'll drop a song or he'll do collabs with different West Coast rappers
cool.
and stuff like that. So yeah, no, he's still putting out music. I mean, I always wanted to like approach it with that sort of mindset where it's like I don't have any like crazy wild expectations for it. So I want to do it on my terms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like it's definitely more of a grind, but it's just dependent on what your priorities are. You know what I mean? Like my priorities are to make the stuff that I'm doing, and hopefully if like enough people latch onto it that I can make a living doing it. You know what I mean? Which at this point I say I'm like, you know, like 70-80% of the way at the, you know what I mean? Still chipping away at it, but I would rather do that and like I don't want to sound like too pretentious by be able to sleep at night or whatever, but just like I just don't want to do any whack shit. You know, that's the like the most simplest way I can put it. I just don't want to be involved in anything whack, whether it's like something I do or it's like a collaboration. And when I say whack, I mean solely in a subjective what I think is whack. You know what I'm saying? And knock on whatever, I've been able to like just to do it at a point where it's like I've been doing it seriously, like I'd say really, really seriously. I've been at this since like 2015. You know, I've been definitely was rapping before that, but I just mean in terms of where I was like, oh no, I'm really gonna try to make a go at this, you know what I mean? And like not bartend. You know what I'm saying? So that's been since 2015. Like, I don't know, like as somebody who got into the hip hop shit as like a fan, maybe it's just like I'm a product of my era, but the shit was always like trading cards back in the day. You know what I mean? It was like fucking Marvel superheroes and shit. It was like, nah, man, MC Light is the illest. Nah, what the fuck are you talking about, son? Nah, Rakim is nah, son. Like I know I've been in arguments in high school with people, or like they're trying to like tell me that like Bubba Sparks is the best rapper of all time, and I'm like, nah, did y'all just hear that new Mos Def album? And it's like totally cool, you know what I mean? We're both going in and we're making fun of each other's rappers, like, you know, and it's like no one's taking the shit like personally. It's just like fun. I don't know. I feel like that shit has gotten weird. That it's like artists can't be criticized as much as they can be praised, and that just feels weird to me.
That does feel like, weird.
Who the fuck wants to make that shit? You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's why I can't really like envision myself being like, this album is probably the most accessible shit that I'm gonna make, you know, and not necessarily by choice, but just in terms of like
the dope one.
Yeah, the dope one.
Yeah.
Yo, pay homage to the god of the rhyme. Treat you motherfucking rappers like it's clobbering time. If you really think I'm capping, check my product design. Cody Kim is on the track and now the author is I. I'm leaving y'all in the twine and you caught in the bind.
Like that, like this album is like it's right below the line of where I feel like, I'm doing some shit that's just genuinely not me, that I'm just, you know what I mean, not interested in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just in terms of like caring, it was like an experiment, you know? It's like, what if there was like a Drake album that I was just hijacked and was just rapping over? You know, that's kind of how I was like thinking about doing it and stuff. And it was like more of, is that something that I could consciously do? Could I consciously make a hook that people are singing, you know what I mean, that's kind of like repetitious and gets stuck in your head, but that I personally wouldn't be like, oh, I was really dumbing it down for that shit, or I was really, you know what I mean, I wasn't pushing myself on that. And yeah, I think I can do it, but just in terms of what I'm interested in, I think I'm more interested in doing stuff that's a bit more weirder.
So it wouldn't be the route that you think you're gonna go from here.
Nah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna like sprinkle stuff like that in, and stuff. Just in and you know, I mean, just the elephant in the room for me is like just trap beats, right? Rapping over trap beats is just stylistically, it's not my favorite thing, and it's a very particular type of trap beat that just inspires me to like, to rhyme words over and rap over. So, like, fucking curating the beats for this album, because this is also the first album that I've done in like a decade that I didn't do the overwhelming majority of the beats for, if not the whole thing, you know what I mean? So like working with other producers, it like if somebody sent me 10 beats, I was like, yeah, I only like this one, or you know, can you I wasn't really feeling any of them, and not because like of not feeling the beats, but just in terms of what I'm personally into.
Yeah, stylistic. You like it a little more experimental.
And I mean, I don't, because what does experimental mean in that sense? You know, to me, this album is experimental. you feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like to me, this album is.
It was like your own personal experiment.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it definitely just through coincidence, if somebody discovers me through this album, it's more in tune with like what's popular now,
right? And
not even popular, but just like what is in fashion now, I guess is the better term for it. It's what's in fashion now. And yeah, I mean, I had a review on another like YouTube channel, and it was something that they were saying in the comments. This was for my last album, like back in 2019, but they were like, yeah, man, this album really has that underground sound. You know what I mean? And it's like some of the cats were saying it in a negative and some of them were saying it in a positive. And I was like, oh, well, is that just because that's all I'm capable of? Or is that my personal aesthetic you know. So after doing like 3 albums of that, it's like, okay, I think for the next one I want to try something different. So let's see how much of this underground sound thing is just ingrained in what I know from my influences, or if that's like a choice that I make when I'm making albums and stuff like that. And I think it definitely is a choice. I feel more comfortable like with my next one. I know it's definitely going to have more of like a rock metal vibe to it. It's like I feel more comfortable doing that experimentation just as like, oh, the same way that I put on the trap costume, like I wore those trap beats like it was a costume. I feel like more comfortable like, oh man, I could like do something that's like more heavy in like, you know, like put that costume on and like fit into it and like work in that space. So that's what I'm going to try to do for the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like to hear it, and I like how well thought out it is for you. I like to hear that. Which serves as a better metaphor for your personality, a butter knife or a butterfly knife?
I would say for Kendrick Mack's personality, I'd say the butter knife, and then for Dope Knife, the butterfly knife.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. I assumed that might have been what your answer was going to be.
I was a battle rapper back in the day. Like that's like you can't tell from the albums that I freestyle a lot. Like if that's the one thing that I do that I have like supreme like confidence in is I'm pretty good at freestyling. So when I first started rapping, just the scene I was in, everybody was freestyling. So I was the youngest person in that group, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get better than all you old motherfuckers, you know. So I really took up freestyling, and I got into the battle scene like right before everything switched to like the like grind time, you know, the pre-written battles.
So you're too young to have been able to get the scribble like a scribble jam.
I was too young for Scribble Jam, but too old to really get into
right
like grind time or KOD and shit. And but like at that tail end of stuff, like I want to say like 2008, 2009, I was like actually, you know, going around the Southeast and taking people's money and shit. So I developed a very like at a very early time before I started trying to make music, I really developed what the Dope Knife character was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? And I never really fell into the trap, or maybe it's just a big up to the OGs that I came up under, but I was just never in a space where there was any sort of pressure to blur the lines or live up to your rap name. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, like, yes.
Like there was real shit going on that shit wasn't any sort of, you know, it wasn't any sort of thing. So I don't know. I just got real comfortable in that, like, oh, like Dope Knife is like a, you know, Joker, arch villain, anarchist. And obviously it was, when you listen to my old stuff, it was cringe, you know what I'm saying? But I just that like attitude, that like grimy sort of attitude, I definitely had that since I started rapping. But I don't know. I like to smile. I like to smile and chill.
Yeah. So the grimy attitude. So you're saying the grimy attitude is more of Dope Knife. I mean that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. It's definitely it's just rap.
Sure.
Shit,
But that's also battling, isn't it? Because you kind of have to. If like you're going to war as a military, you can't just you got to battle. So you got to get dirty and do all that. That might not be your personality when you're not battling.
The thing that I noticed in battles was that, like, the whole, I mean, I don't know, the way that I broke it down, I can't say the same thing for how battling is now, but at least for me, in the freestyle battle era, you know, like one person raps for like 45 seconds, the next person raps the next, you know, 2 rounds, and then the crowd decides the winner, and then some judges. Back in that time, I found that the strategy was, or like the unspoken thing that everyone was doing is that whatever somebody's was like projecting as their strength,
That was
is
their weakness.
what you would then try to use against them to be like, oh, that's not your strength. You're in fact the opposite of what you're projecting, right? That was the whole way I broke it down. That's how I justified to myself a lot of the misogyny and homophobia and stuff. Is like, all right, like everyone's playing a character and blah blah blah. You would like to think that, you know, I mean, we're all in this world that's you know, a space where we all understand what the rules are and so on and so forth. But it was vicious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like the better that you were and the more witty that you were, you know what I mean? And the more that you were thinking about like outsmarting it all seemed like a really fun game that I just really took that way. So I just never conflated it with real life or anything like that. Like I've never been like, don't get me wrong, my life has definitely has its like share of like shit, you know what I mean, that like goes on in it, but there's never a point where it's like, oh no, I can't do this, I'm supposed to be Dope Knife, you know what I mean? Like what? It would be like if Al Pacino was like, wait a minute, I can't back down from this, I'm Scarface. Like what?
Yeah.
Nigga, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, you don't have to be. Yeah, you're not a method rapper.
yeah.
Do you think that battle rapping? Well, I don't know if it still exists right now, but can it exist in this space? Because it seems like you can't really knock a person down.
I mean, it definitely exists. I mean, they have, you know, it doesn't exist in the sense that we're talking about, like the freestyling 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Sense,
right.
You know what I mean? That scene doesn't exist. Not that I know of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if it does, somebody point me to it, I'll sharpen it up and go get some money. But the space now, I mean, they're doing their thing. Like the pre-written battles where it's like one guy raps for like 25 minutes.
Okay.
Like with a verse that he wrote for 3 months. Like, I mean, people are into it and it has like a huge scene. And I mean, those things are vicious. They're going in and they're doing all the things, but
they're able to think them out too. They sort of,
I mean, they're looking at each other's Facebook pages and stuff, and it's like you know what I mean? They're like getting like personal information from their job, and then for me, that's what takes me out of it. Is because when you watch it, it's like the whole thing feels like a big click inside joke that me as the viewer, you know what I mean? I have a hard time connecting with. It's kind of like, I look at it like the freestyle battles are like UFC, and the pre-written battles are like WWE.
Yeah.
WWE.
I would
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like WWE is like when you watch a match, it's always gonna come down to the wire. Like everybody's gonna do their special move. You know what I mean? Everyone's gonna have their moment to shine. But if you're watching a real competition, it might not be like that. And you as the audience have that unspoken rule when you go and you watch a football game, it could be the greatest game you've ever seen in your life, triple overtime, or somebody could get blown out by 50 points.
Yeah.
You know, you're not guaranteed the outcome of the game.
Right.
And I feel like when you give somebody 3 months to research their Facebook page and then they're surrounded by all their friends and everyone knows all the intricate details of each other's lives and stuff, it's just more of a like, you know, everyone's going to get to go through their round. No one's going to choke. No one's going to get blown out of the water. Everyone's going to get their chance to shine. So I don't know. To me, it's just not what I'm into.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit. I lost this adjective. What's like more of a sterile environment?
Yeah. It's like a more sterile. I don't want to, I'm really not
at all.
No.
Yeah. It didn't sound like you're dissing it.
I just, it's just a matter of taste.
Yeah.
And it's different than what you came up doing. It's completely different.
Yeah, completely different. You know what I mean? I just prefer like the not knowing what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And yeah, it sucks if like you go to a battle and it's like maybe both guys just have a bad night or both opponents have a bad night and it's just not a good battle. But yeah, there is but
it's
the thrill
kind of real.
It's good. That's what makes a good battle good is that it could have been whack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it could have been whack, and these motherfuckers are going edit. You know, I enjoyed that. So if there was something like that, like just out of being like a competitive cat, I probably would. Yeah, I definitely would follow it, if not try to participate.
Yeah, is that? Do you wish you would have had a chance at that like Scribble Jam?
Scribble Jam? Oh hell yeah, yo! I'm not trying to say I would have like won Scribble Jams and stuff like that, but oh man, like when I look at Scribble Jam, there's definitely cats who I was freestyling better than at that time. You know what I mean? So I was, and then on top of that, like not growing up in the States, that's where shit like that hurt me. You know what I mean? Because by the time I knew what Scribble Jam was and that it was a thing, it was already on its way out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and we just were talking to Dibs about it, and I was asking him. I said, "Do you think you'll ever bring it back?" He said, "It just wouldn't work nowadays because of exactly what we were just talking about."
The only counter I would say to that is it might not be as big nowadays, but you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think outlets like that are important, so that it, almost like a beacon for the people who are interested in something like that to like gather. You know what I mean? To like flock to it or gather around. But it's got to happen first.
His I think one of the main reasons I talked to him quite a bit is why he wouldn't want to bring it back, because he specifically would want to do it like the old ways. The only reason he'd put his heart into it again is he'd want it to be that really hardcore shit, and he doesn't think that with all the camera phones everywhere now, and like the younger MCs wouldn't even be able to battle with some of the OG ones because they would, you would have to hold back, and it's
plus he'd have to buy tons of tissues.
Why?
People would be so insulted now. They'd just be crying.
I think that, that's what he was saying. Like, it just wouldn't work. Hey, this is way out of left field, but did you ever play hockey?
Oh, in Canada?
No, did just hockey in general. Yeah.
No, but when I lived in Toronto, though, I did like skate a lot, though, but I never played hockey. Yeah, I skate. Yeah.
Do you think?
It's fucking Toronto.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you think you'd be good at hockey?
No. I'm not as much of a fan of like basketball as I am. I'm not like a good athlete.
Oh, are you good at basketball though?
No, I played, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess I was like better than somebody who didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I guess like on a court with like a bunch of people who don't play at all, I guess I would be the best out of them.
But you're more of a fan of basketball.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Are you a fan of hockey at all?
Nah.
I don't know why I'm pushing hockey. So I just came out of left field. I don't know.
Maybe Canada.
Again, I like, from anything that's like a competition between like people practicing a craft, like I dig that. I just dig that as a concept. You know what I mean? It's just cool to me. So, like fucks with the fact that Wayne Gretzky was the greatest. You know what I mean? All that sort of shit is like cool. And like, like I'm from the one place in the States that we always would come back to would always be like the Virginia, DC area. So I'm like, I'm like a de facto DC DMV sports fan and shit like that. So, I'm like Ovechkin. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I fucks with hockey. I got nothing against it, but it's hockey in a lot of other sports for me is kind of like just another streaming series that I'd have to invest time into that I don't have the time to really get into to watch.
I find that I'm into sports, but I mostly only get into them towards. Except for basketball, I'll watch. I love basketball, but most other sports, I only get really involved with them during the championships.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll watch all the World Series,
same thing.
Playoffs.
Like I don't watch football like regular season at all, but like playoff season, I dig it and I start to like follow it and shit. But I don't know. Like, I mean, that's another thing I think that what made me really get into hip hop with like this sort of like monkish devotion in my early years was like, it was unhealthy. Like when I was first getting into it, I was like on some, I'm closing myself out from the outside world and I'm studying this shit because I don't want to do it, because I found it as like an opportunity to do something that was like competitive that I could be like really good at.
Right.
I couldn't be good. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't just like grow 4 feet overnight and be a basketball player, and I wasn't big enough to be a football player. So it's like, oh no, wait, but like I'm actually nice at this. You know what I mean? Like I actually like I can whether it's a battle or whether it's a open mic or whether it's a show and I'm going on after somebody, I can get on stage after somebody who's like 6 feet tall, you know what I mean, 200 pounds, and I can like clearly be better than them at this thing.
You can form sentences quickly.
Physicality doesn't have to play into it.
This is where whatever it is that I have makes me able to compete in this thing, and that really made me get into it. And when I switched over to like focusing on making my music, it was looking at it with the same way. I mean, not as like nerdy as like, oh man, I want to rap better and use more syllables than the next guy, but in the terms of when I hear like a good album, like my homie Jarv just put out his new album and shit, and it's like, you know, I'm like listening to him like, man, this is dope. All right, motherfucker. Wait, my next album's gonna get that ass. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of vibe. Like I said, the shit's all fun to me.
Do you get inspired? Do you get like a competitive inspiration from when you hear someone that you know come out with a really dope album? Like, do you get that?
I think that's what you just said.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like that's probably not my biggest inspiration for the albums, but like as far as like the motivation, you know, people don't consider when you're doing this shit for you, it's more difficult than people think to see a project through to the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're thinking a project from the start. Like a lot of people, it takes them a really long time to like think, hey, I'm going to make an album. All of the stuff that we have to deal with in life and stuff like that, see that through and get it done. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, the thing that whenever I'm like in the bog days of putting a project together, I'm definitely thinking of, all right, man, you know, Chesky's last shit was ill. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, like get the shit done. You know, like, nah, I know you want to like sit down and watch Netflix tonight, but you need to get in the studio because like that new Homeboy Sandman shit was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so I definitely have that thought, not just for people I know, but just like
in general.
Anything.
Yeah, following through is like one of the hardest. Not the hardest, but that's the part that most people forget to pay attention.
Especially when something is like similar to what you do.
Yeah.
At least for me, like that shit is like every time. A long time ago, I think this was like around the time when I really started to get serious about my stuff. It was like it was shortly after I first met Chesky, and he hit me up and he was like, yo, I think that people note that this is like after this predates Run the Jewels. But Chesky was like, man, I think you would sound better over LP shit than DJ Premier shit. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? And then Run the Jewels came out, and just like coincidentally, my music kind of started going towards that sort of like musically started going towards that route too. And so I've always had, since 2013, I've always had that sort of like every time Run the Jewels puts out a project, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, damn, like my shit was probably going to sound like that.
Yeah.
I got to put out something now.
Do you get anxiety? I know I have there's a particular artist that's out there that I have that sort of thing going on. And I don't know, not anymore now that I'm a little older and positioned well, but it used to give me a lot of anxiety. What does that give you anxiety, or do you take it and then go, that just pushes you?
Yeah, no, it doesn't give me. I'm like, it doesn't give me anxiety. And again, like I said, it's more in fun than it is anything that's like actually like negative or like anxious driving or anything like that. But no, I mean the only times it's not anxiety, but like I do get regret. I do get regret. Like I'm not gonna front, or like I mean, I had this beat that a friend gave to me, and I made this song that sounded just like the Run the Jewels song Get It.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I was going in just like, and I remember when that song came out, like everybody in like my like social was like, "Damn, son!" They're like, "Yo, that sucks." It's like, yeah, that sucks. So for me, it's not necessarily like an anxious thing. Well, I mean, maybe it is anxious, and I'm just not describing it the right way. But I'm always thinking like, man, I don't want to be sitting on music.
Right.
That's what I mean. That's the same kind of anxiety I get. I'm always like, I got to get this out before
Before someone else
before
does.
someone else does.
Yeah, exactly. Like heaven forbid if something happens to me, I do not want to have like a bunch of stuff on my hard drive that nobody ever got to hear till after I was gone and couldn't get props for it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, and I don't follow. A lot of people ask me like, do you know this artist or this artist? And I don't follow a lot of other artists' work because I don't want it to because I work from my subconscious, so I don't want to end up putting something out that looks just like one of my contemporaries, and then a main thing for me is authenticity. I want my work to be authentically me.
But
And
the other thing is, if that does happen, I at least want the peace of mind knowing that I did it first.
yes, yeah,
You know what I mean? Because we can't control what anybody else does. So that's what I remember when Tyler the Creator first came out. And that was the big one that like a lot of people that I know were like, oh man, this guy you sound just like this guy. And
right.
like I didn't hate, and I was completely comfortable because like to me it was like, oh well, I'm like 10 years old. This nigga, I was rapping, you know what I mean? Like I was rapping like that way before him. So it's just cool that the style is getting out there.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at that though. I think I tend to go negatively.
Yeah.
Because people compare my work to this other particular artist a lot, and I'm like, damn, I've been doing this since I was like 5 years old. He just got out there before me.
Do you mind if I ask who, or is that?
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Is it a contemporary or something?
Yeah, and it's not that it's private. I one time mentioned him in an interview, and in an interview that someone was interviewing me, a paper, and I don't hate the guy. I always get compared to him, and as an artist, like it's like I don't know, for some reason that's what I got to get better at.
No,
that.
I feel you.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if I have got to the level where like people's comparing you to someone. It's not that they're being a dick. It's just like they're like letting you know like, oh, I appreciate your work. It reminds me of this work.
Sometimes it can be because they're being a dick.
That's true.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I'm not trying to downplay it at all. Like sometimes it definitely can be because they're being a dick. But I don't know, the way I look at it is just like, I don't know. We're 2023, right? Like a lot of shit that's capable of being done has pretty much been done. So the best that you can hope to do as an artist, I feel, is to do the shit that you like your way.
Yeah.
And discovering what your way is the journey. You know what I'm saying? And so just from that standpoint, it's like, stuff is gonna come out. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's an arms race. It's to get that shit first. And it's like if you're not in, like, I'm not in the position of like LP or Killer Mike to like be like concerned with the monetary aspect of it. So for me, it's just like, nah, man. When somebody says they really like that Run the Jewels song, I want to be like, nah, I got a date stamped.
Yeah.
Like I got a joint that came out on Spotify way before that shit. You can check it out. Look at what year it says it came out. I'm telling you.
Hey, there's a thing I do on the show. It's called the Useless Facts. So let me give you a useless fact.
Dude, that might be my next tattoo right there.
Well, it's got on the cover of your album, when the missiles launch, it'll just be the cockroaches and Dope Knife. So I got the cockroach in there. And then I seen some videos where you were, graphing up. So I wanted to put the spray can in there.
Yeah. That's just, I mean, literally the cockroaches, the mic, the spray paint can, and the skull. That's like the themes of my last 4 albums.
Yeah, I'll try to keep the drawings specifically to who we're having a guest with. So
yeah, that's I'm having fun, man. This is
cool. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, and I like talking to folks like you, like who really put some thought into what they're what they're talking about. Most of the people, we have never ran into an interview where someone's just like, yes, no, yes.
There may have been one guy.
Oh, there is, yeah.
I like talking about rap, I'm into movies. I used to be I'm into comic books, I don't really read a lot of current comic books, but just like as a medium, I'm into it. So it's like being a fan and being a nerd about like some of these other like entertainment mediums and shit. There's just so many avenues where people talk about the craft of it. You know what I'm saying? And just rap's like another thing that I'm a nerd of. And there's just really not, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people talking about rap related shit, you know what I'm saying? But not necessarily like just the way that a Star Wars nerd talks about Star Wars, but instead you're talking about rap. Like I enjoy those conversations. So whenever I get the opportunity for those, man, I jump on those like all the time.
Well, let me give you this useless fact that's based on, I got it based off of your rap name, Dope Knife. So here's your useless fact. In the 1950s, there was an old Inuit man, in order to escape the government settlement, he made a knife out of his own feces and frozen spit, killed a dog with it, and used its ribs and organs to make a sled, then tied it to other dogs and rode off.
So I'm just thinking about him crafting the blade, and it's gross.
But yeah, I mean,
when all you have is snow, I guess, around you, no trees.
But that is thinking ahead, because I don't think that would even come to mind.
That's working with what you got.
That's
like,
right.
Literally.
Well, let me give you this one other useless fact that's a knife one. Did you know sumo referees, they carry a knife to show that they're willing to kill themselves if they make a bad call.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's extreme.
I thought you were gonna say that they carry the knives to defend themselves in case one of the sumo wrestlers goes crazy and tries to. Damn. All right. Now, if only we can get NBA refs to do that during the playoffs when the Wizards are playing. You know what I'm saying? Then the world will be a perfect place. Okay. Well, let me give you an interesting movie factoid. Right? Have you guys seen the movie Training Day?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Denzel.
I don't know.
With Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke?
Okay.
So in 2005, there was a movie made. Training Day came out in 2002. But in 2005, there was a movie made. There was a remake of a John Carpenter movie called Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes.
And that 2005 movie is also starring Ethan Hawke. And if you ever get the opportunity and you watch both of those movies back to back, solely on coincidence, they both work as unofficial sequels to each other.
Oh, cool.
So check it out.
That's interesting.
I'll go back and watch that Assault on Precinct.
It's a really cool coincidence when you're watching it. Like when you just watch it. And this, I totally discovered this by accident, but I'm pretty sure somebody saw this like before that. But it was surprising to me enough that I've been sharing it with folks, because it does make a really cool double feature if you ever get the time.
Weren't you and your nephews just talking about Ethan Hawke all night last night?
Yeah, last night.
Just talking about
He's just
movies.
been in a lot of movies recently.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's having like a little John Travolta comeback now.
Yeah, he is.
He was in this really dope like series of art films that was like, I forget who the actress was, but it was like him and this other actress, and it's like the first movie they meet and then they start dating, then the second movie they're in a relationship, and then the third movie they're married and they've been married. But it's like each movie is 10 years apart, and they grow, you know what I mean? Like they grow up like 10 years. It's supposed to be dope. It's one of those things that I definitely want to watch it just to be able to like mention it in a conversation and say I saw it. But
should I had this Sophie's choice, but now it's so obvious because it's Ice-T or Ice Cube.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's Ice-T all day. Ice-T all day. It was honestly a harder debate when I was younger.
Right.
It definitely was a harder debate. So it's in recent years that I can really like narrow it down to be like, nah, I think I was feeling Ice-T more. But back when I was a kid, yeah, I really those were Ice-T, Ice Cube, and motherfucking Fresh Prince. You know what I mean? For like for a kid who's like way more into comic books and movies, those are the rappers that like, you know what I mean, that piqued my interest. Was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
We all loved Fresh Prince.
What's going on over there?
Funny because that's
I'll check back in with that when I'm in high school.
Our conversation with Jel last week. I had mentioned how for some reason I just did not like Fresh Prince. I don't know what it was. I don't know.
Oh, but you did. When parents just don't understand.
I like
somebody was listening.
I was way into horror movies, so I did like
the Freddy song.
The Freddy song.
What about? Did you mean Gel is in the producer Gel?
Yeah. He was on last week.
I opened up for him once here in Savannah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that was like way back in the day, but yeah.
What about Easy E or E40?
I gotta go with E40.
Yeah,
because I mean, you know, like, no, I don't want to. With no disrespect, but I consider Eazy-E like in the same realm as like Dr. Dre or Puff Daddy, like from a rapper perspective, you know what I mean? Because like it's like, you know what I mean, they're more like characters. I don't really look at Eazy-E as like a MC spitter like that, you know what I mean? So
like E40,
again, no
yeah, I mean
E40 is like actual, regardless of whatever his style is, it is his style. Nobody else raps that way. We can all only strive to have a style that nobody is trying to like emulate. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What can you tell me about Panhandle Slim? He's the one that did your album cover. I just started following because of your album cover. I didn't know a lot about him, but
yeah, he's a local Savannah artist. I've been knowing him for years, but he'd always did his, that cartoony style. He would just do portraits of famous people, historical figures and stuff. And, I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point it started becoming popular nationally. You know what I mean? I was seeing him posting up his paintings being all over the country. And he ended up doing stuff for Stacey Abrams' campaign, Warnock down here in Georgia. I know he's done. If you look at his Instagram page, it's just like there's mad different famous celebrities and political figures and stuff like that who have his stuff up. So
he's got a very distinct style too, and that's my favorite artists are the ones that you can determine like, oh, that's his work.
Looks very outsider.
I was honored because it's like, he's at the point where it's like, especially in town, as far as like local Savannah stuff, he's like doing like portraits of the mayor and shit like that. So
it is an honor. I've
been in Savannah long enough that Panhandle Slim did like a piece of me. It like makes me like definitely ingrained. All that shit I was talking about with like, I was always in the DMV, DC, Virginia, Maryland area. I mean, at this point, that was further away from where I am now than at anything. So it's like I definitely claim Savannah, Georgia as like home, and that's where I'm from. Like I would never bother explaining that DMV story to any stranger. Talking,
well, no, you know what I was going to ask when someone says like, where are you from? Do you say?
Yeah, I say Savannah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like I said, it all depends on where the conversation's going. You know what I mean? But like just in a average conversation, like out in the street, it's like I'm from Savannah, and then me growing up overseas and the Liberian part of me comes into the conversation, stuff like that. But I definitely don't explain the whole, I lived overseas, but every summer we used to come back to Virginia. So like, it's just
complicated. Yeah.
Was it a wooing a line for when your current girl?
Oh,
like sometimes you're like, oh,
I'm interesting. I've traveled everywhere. I grew up everywhere.
Sometimes you oversell a little.
No, she actually is like the first girlfriend that was like, she's a musician herself, so she plays bass and she's a singer-songwriter type. So she was like, nah, like she moved into town from Ohio, and she was like, nah, people were saying you got to meet Dope Knife, and then I went to one of your shows and I was like, oh, all right. So that she's the one girlfriend that like I've met, you know what I mean, in that context.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, going back on that Panhandle Slim thing, was that something? Did he just make a portrait of you, or did you reach out to him and see if he wanted to?
Yeah,
do it?
he made the portrait.
Wow.
And first he hit me up and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a piece for you. So
that's cool.
Is there a particular picture of yours that you want me to base it off of?" And I didn't really have one in mind and shit like that. But we've again, like, we're Facebook friends. It's Scott. You know what I mean? I've known him since I was 19. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, sure. Just pick something and just do it and stuff like that. So then he was like, all right, so give me a quote. And I gave him the cockroach quote and stuff like that. And then he did it. He did the piece, and I think he was gonna hang it up somewhere or something. Oh no, he did the piece, and then he called me up. He's like, "Hey, do you want to get this, or do you want me to put it up somewhere?" And I was like, "Oh man, can I use this for my album cover?"
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, it's so cool.
It really shaped the album, to be honest with you, because most of the stuff that was written, it was written like from the beginning of COVID, for like between March 2020 and like November 2020 is when like the first 7 songs of the album were written, and they were just, it was like really like nihilistic. Does any of this matter? The world's gonna, you know what I mean? Right. I was just writing songs, and there wasn't really anything. I was actually gonna do a thing where I was gonna be like, hey, I'm just gonna put out a song every month or something like that, you know what I mean? Just put it online on Spotify or whatever, and just like do that for a while and shit like that. But then when I had the album cover, it was like, nah, I need to add more to this, and this is, you know, it really did solidify that this was going to be an album and that this was what I'm doing.
An album wasn't in mind until like there was an album cover, and then you're
until I had that art.
Oh, cool.
So is this art a mural? Or did he do it on like a big? He uses plywood or something sometimes.
Yeah, I have it in the other room, right?
There is an original piece to it.
Yeah, no, I have the original piece. It's just like a plywood thing. I really think I'm just gonna keep it. You know, like, I mean, just at this point, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, not even for any sort of like value thing, but just like the fact that he took the time to do it and that he gave it to me. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, you can't get rid of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the timer went off. I want to hit you with a few things that are like staples on the show before we wrap up. And I want to get, at the end, I want to get like some information about your podcast, because you're still doing the podcast, right?
It's right now on a hiatus,
okay,
because of the album and my co-host Mariah. She had recently had a baby, and I think she might be doing some other things politically, and you know what I mean, so we just don't have the time for it. It was it's just the two of us doing that shit. Like I was the producer and hosting it, and we're we're both doing the research together and stuff like that.
It's time consuming.
Yeah, it was a full-time job that wasn't a full-time job, you know what I mean? So I definitely had to take a break, but I personally do want to get back into it. So
yeah, it's one of those things where they're a lot of fun, but people don't understand. It does take a lot of time and effort,
especially when you're dealing with like political stuff, because it's like you gotta source stuff and you gotta make sure that you're not saying the wrong shit.
Yeah,
and it's just like it was. I would describe it to people as if you had to write like a senior high school paper every week.
So the podcast was called it's the reparations podcast.
Waiting on reparations.
Well, yeah, waiting on reparations. Yeah. So, and it's mostly
it's hip hop politics. It's like the basic format of it is we'll pick like a political issue going on of the day, and then we'll relate it back to hip hop, whether past, present, or like future. So, for example, let's say let's say like something happens and there's like a famine somewhere. We never had this episode, but let's say something happened and then like there was a big famine and it was on the news or something like that. Then it'd be like, oh, you know what? Mos Def mentioned the famine of 19 something on his album, blah blah blah. Or in this interview, Snoop Dogg said something about feeding the children and hit. You know what I mean? And there's like 86 episodes. They're all still up. It's a iHeartRadio podcast, but you can find it wherever you find your podcasts. And my co-host Mariah Parker. She's she's city council in Athens, Georgia, but she's also a really dope MC herself named Lingua Franca.
I wish I'd never told Marie that I would check the tweets that I'd neglected like a nest of chickadees. The slope is slippery, the trek is treacherous. To trend is to undress yourself in open history. Wishing a nigga would, like I was hoping hickory, or praying for a peck of health.
So, you know, we're like freestyling at the beginning of every episode, or rapping at the end of every episode. You know what I mean? Sometimes we had some rap guests on. It was just pretty much we got to do whatever the fuck we wanted to do. It was really nuts that like iHeartRadio really did not stop us from doing anything. So the show was just a big vanity project where it's like 1 second we're interviewing somebody running for Congress that Mariah knows, and then the next second we're interviewing Megaran. You know what I mean? And the next second we're interviewing this guy who wrote this book. You know, so the next second there was like episodes where we were just like, hey, did you see such and such a movie? Yeah. Yo, let's review that shit. You know what I mean? So it's just all over the place.
With all the focus on Georgia right now, is that something you wish that you were doing episodes, or are you over it? Oh yeah.
There's so much because we stopped in April, and there's so much shit that's gone down in it that would have made such juicy episodes for that show. I mean, like we got to a point where we were like, look, we're not going to mention Kanye anymore until the situation drastically changes. And then it was like 3 months after the show ended, it was like we were calling each other like, God damn it.
Yeah.
But there's lots of, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm even bringing it up is because, there's lots of stuff going on that I already kind of developed like a taste for doing that. I mean, because I wish it wasn't the case, but as a DI, my current state, more people have heard me on that podcast than they have my music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they know me from that podcast as the rapper Dope Knife. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, again, this is one of the, it's like we were talking about earlier. It's like if I can keep doing what I'm doing and keep making moves, but like without having to change what I like to do, then I'm all for it. And that podcast was just like one of those sort of self-validating moments. You know what I mean? When I got that gig, because it was like, wait a minute. Y'all trying to pay me to do this? Did y'all hear my last joint? You know what I'm saying? Like, did y'all hear that line about your parents' company? Y'all still cool? Oh, all right. Let's go.
Isn't iHeartRadio based out of Atlanta or the Georgia?
Yeah,
Georgia.
Yeah. I actually ended up moving to Athens, like about an hour out of Atlanta.
Okay.
For the first year of the podcast, so I could be like closer to the main studio down there and shit. Yeah.
Let me hit you with some Atlanta-based. One of them. Sophie's choice. Big Boy or Big Pun?
Ooh. You know, does it have to just be like, can I give any explanation?
Sure, you can.
Okay. I like to differentiate like the rapper and the artist because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think somebody can be a better artist than a rapper and vice versa. So from that standpoint, I would say Big Boy is the better artist than Big Pun. And I don't think it's particularly close.
Right.
And I think that Big Pun is the better rapper than Big Boy. And it's like not even in the same stratosphere of discussion. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a great answer to a pretty basic question, only based on them being bigs and Big Boy being in Atlanta. No, absolutely. My favorite are when people put some thought into it, because it's content driven. I mean, not necessarily. I do them because they became a part of the show. They were never supposed to be a part of the show, but I found like some interesting conversations would always come out of them. So, yeah.
I mean, hey, I mean, that's just like that shit's 100% up my alley. Like, like I like just trivia and stuff like that.
Well, that reminds me, another staple of our show is a trivia question. Then we do these pop culture trivia questions. I'll give you the decade, and you can pick the decade, and then I'll read a question from it. So it's 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s, and it's pop culture. So which decade would you like your question to be from?
All right, let's go with 90s.
Okay, that's cool. Everyone's chose 80s, and I would actually like to hear a 90s question. All right, here we go. Here's your question. Which actress had her film debut as the role of Tina Carlisle, Dorian Tyrell's girlfriend and lounge singer in the movie The Mask?
Cameron Diaz.
All right. Yeah. There you go. You got that one.
Nice.
You got a movie one. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. No, I 100% have like gone with some friends to like a couple trivia nights, and it's just ran through the movie section of the shit, like got everyone right. And it's like, don't bother me anymore. I hear all that shit.
If there was something that, I came up with this question with my kids last night, and I wanted to ask you this question. Oh shit! I just forgot what it was.
You said something like, if I could spend a day with you and you could teach me all about one thing, what could you teach me about?
If we were to spend a weekend together, and you taught me everything you knew about this one thing, and I had to take a test on that one thing, what would that thing be?
That's easy, rapping.
Oh,
like I mean, not you, but I just mean in terms of a subject that I've actually, done some workshops with kids and stuff, like from like a technical craft of like, hey, I mean, these are the things you need to know getting into it. This is something you got to pay attention to. So like, that's the one thing I feel I'm qualified to teach anybody about is like,
or you have enough information on it, you would send someone out to go to maybe even take a chance of getting up on stage and rapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the 100%. Like, I think I know enough about it that if somebody wanted to learn, I could teach. Now, would they be good at it?
Right, but that's a whole other. Yeah, that's a whole. You can't teach someone talent.
That's the sort of thing where that's not in the control of anybody. But I do think I do possess some knowledge that would be a subject that I could either that or just knowing useless shit about movies. You know what I mean? I could teach that.
I love useless knowledge about movies so much. One final question, and then we'll do your philosophical question because we end the episodes with philosophicals. Let me do these two. What would be your weapon of choice in the zombie apocalypse?
You know what? I'm gonna go with what the fuck? What is the M14? Like the Saving Private Ryan rifles. They're like wooden.
Yeah.
I'd want to use one of those, and just like a semi-automatic, far away.
Yeah,
sniper.
I don't want to like think too much into stuff, but I just have beef with the concept of zombies, though. Right? There's something about it that really bothers me. Right? So here's the thing. Right? Like, if you shoot somebody in the knee, the reason that they can't walk anymore isn't because it hurts. It's because you shot their fucking knee, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's a structure that needs to be intact to like function. So if you shot a zombie in the leg, it would be on the ground. So I don't understand why that's like I'm not the smartest person in the world, but that just seems like if somebody put that into their zombie apocalypse movie, that it just might make, like some interesting shit that we haven't seen before. So like, so with that, I don't want anything where I have to be close to zombies. I want a weapon where I can hit them from far away, because assuming that we're working in real world logic,
yeah,
as much as we can with zombies,
yeah,
I think if I can get leg shots, I can slow them down, so then I can hit them on the head or whatever.
The other thing too with that, when you shoot them in the leg, you don't walk all the way up over to them, real close to make sure that you got them.
Yeah, like if your spine breaks, like the reason that you can't walk is because you haven't become an unstoppable killing machine yet. It's because like it needs to be intact for you to walk.
Do you find that there's got to be, even though as illogical as zombies are, do you find in movies though you want it to be there's got to be at least some logic to things? Do you do that with movies? I do too.
I mean, look, and it doesn't have to be like, I'm not like crazy with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely capable of suspending my disbelief. And then also on top of that, there's just some shit that, you in certain concepts, you just have to present information, and we just have to accept that it is.
But it makes the experience a little bit better when you view the movie, and it's also even a little more interesting.
The more that I think of somebody who's making a movie or something, the more that they draw from, like, even if it's a kid's film or if it's like a campy film, but if the I think organizing principle is like, what would happen what would happen in real life? You know what I mean? If that's like the thought going in, it just makes better shit,
Agreed.
Like, have you seen that Andor show?
Andor. Oh, that's
Andor.
The new
Star Wars shit?
Yeah, we haven't watched it yet.
Yo, the shit is so fucking fire because it's like The Sopranos, but in Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's just the whole entire like vibe of this shit is like, what would this shit be like if it was really happening? You know what I mean? So there's no like winking at the camera. There's no like jokes. It really is like, oh no, like they're living under an oppressive, like apartheid authoritarian government. It feels more like Casablanca than it does Star Wars. It just has spaceships and laser beams in it and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone we've been hearing says it's the best one.
It is, man. I can't even front. I used to be like a huge Star Wars fan, and then I kind of got out of it when like the prequel shit came out.
Too much. There was too many of them.
Yeah, and then when they made the new ones, I wasn't really feeling those, and that kind of made me appreciate the prequels more. But that Andor shit, like it's like you don't. It's like the stuff about it that makes you recognize the shit as Star Wars is like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because just on its own as a show and what it's about is like, yo, this is like some of the dopest shit I ever seen. But then when you think about, wait a minute, this is fucking Star Wars. It makes it even doper.
Is it a series?
Yeah, it is like a short.
Yeah, it's a
okay.
12-episode series. I think they're coming out with it. They already got like another season coming out. But it's one of those things where it's like you could tell everybody who was making it, from like the actors onto the people behind the camera, they're all like, yo, how can we make something that children are only gonna like because there's laser beams in it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the only appealing thing to somebody who's really not trying to think about what they're watching, is like, oh, there's spaceships at this part, and but other than that, it is like people talking in, you know what I mean, like Game of Thrones, but Star Wars. You know what I mean? Yeah. It really is dope. Really is dope.
I did just want to let you guys know, in case you didn't, there is this fungus that it can infect ants, and it zombifies them and takes over their brain, and I think it grows out of their head even.
Yeah.
But
I heard of that. Isn't that what they based that Last of Us game on or something?
Oh, I don't know.
There's some video game where they do like zombies, but they do a fungus thing, and I remember hearing about that's like a real thing with ants.
Yeah.
But see, it's just a matter of time.
I know.
Though that fungus doesn't affect humans.
Not
so
yet.
It's okay. But I do wonder if one of their legs gets broken off. Can they?
Will they
does the
keep walking?
fungus?
Does it give them super human or super ant strength?
That, see, like again, right? I can accept that.
Yeah.
Like if you had that be like an explanation in the shit, like that would make total sense to me. But I mean, you know, you're just not gonna convince me that like the motherfuckers from 28 Days Later who just literally just got rabies that like you can't like pop one of them in the kneecap and they're not gonna like fall. Nah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
All right, here's your final philosophical question for the episode. Is defining people according to race a social construct or a biological category?
It's a social construct. I'll elaborate. It's a social construct, but I think that there's a lot of people who, because it's so ingrained as a social construct, that there's a lot of people who think that it's a biological thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, what we can do about that, I don't have the answers.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But definitely, I think it's just historically that's just the case. Like there was a way that people looked at race before. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Certain interests were able to make people look at it a different way so that they could carry on certain business practices. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, man, it was boy, that time flew right by.
It did, man. I had a lot of fun.
I've really enjoyed having the conversation with you. That was a lot of fun.
Hey, man, y'all have me back on here whenever y'all want.
Yeah, awesome.
We can chat.
Hey, well, so what are before we let you go? What are where do you prefer people to hear about what you're up to, and then more about this album and what other projects coming up in the future?
Okay, I don't have. Like, I have a website, but it just links to my Bandcamp stuff. If you want to buy shit, knifeisdope.com. All the stuff is on there. If you want to follow me and know what I'm doing, Instagram or TikTok, but mainly Instagram. TikTok is just mainly where I post up raps. So if you want to hear me rapping every other day, I post up raps on TikTok. But in terms of keeping up with the moves I'm making, what cities I might be in, stuff that I'm working on, that's all IG at dope_knife. And the new album, The Dope One, is out everywhere. I hear that it's pretty good.
It is so good.
And
let me ask. Are you gonna be tour like small touring Dope One?
I want to definitely get out on the road. Like right now, I'm just trying to make it work. Like really, I'm just trying to perhaps link up with some bigger artists. You know what I mean? And open up for them, that sort of thing. So that's just a matter of like connections and stuff like that. So whenever that works out, that'll work out. But I definitely will be hitting the road just on my own. Probably after January because I hate traveling up north when it's cold.
Yeah.
Will you announce those on your Instagram, you think?
Yeah. Whenever any of that sort of stuff is going down, Instagram is the place to find it. I'll definitely post about all that stuff on Instagram. And I'm already working on the next joint.
Awesome.
And I'm working on a comic book now too. So.
Oh wow. Very good.
Yeah, so look, a graphic novel, and I'm going to tie in a big soundtrack thing for it. And I'm going to try to like get all of my rapper friends to contribute and, you know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
Make that like a thing.
Oh, so good for you. That's awesome.
Next thing.
Will that be like a series or like just like a one?
It's going to be a book, but it'll be broken up into 4 chapters and stuff like that. To be honest with you, I really don't like it. That might be a DIY thing, or it might be if I can get a publisher that would want to put it out. Yeah, like all I know is that I spent like the last 2 months writing it and I'm drawing it now. So, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
So it's getting done one way or the other. So just be on the lookout for it.
We will. All right, man. It was such a pleasure having you on. Really, truly.
Thank
I'm glad
you guys.
came
Great
out.
to meet y'all.
Yeah,
yo.
you too.
Y'all have a good one, yo.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
I am legit. I am the cat that can spit. Raising the African fist. Crackers is pissed. You ain't a fan of the kid, but you can just snack on my dick. I am the crap in the shit. Niggas all that in the bag of the chips. Give me the bag or I'm flipping the fuck and I'm cracking.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that time flew by so quick.
It did. I was going to ask him if he had been to Antarctica. Because you were talking about it prior, and he seems to have gone everywhere, but that's pretty far.
Yeah, I had some stuff I did want to ask him about. I didn't want to interrupt some of the stuff he was talking on because he has this really interesting on his album, one of his albums, 1984. There's a well on the. Oh man, I really wish. Well, next time.
Well,
Sorry.
he was on. What was that? What country? Liberia. That's on the coast.
Well,
so is Sierra Leone.
When he was a kid, he fell into the well and was trapped in a well, and he never told anybody about it. And then it was on. He talked about it on his album. But
then you got to listen to the album.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, I mean, I put it in as a question I wanted to ask him about. That was more framed like. Is that something you would be willing to tell us about? Because I don't know if it was like a...
if we have him on for his comic book or his next album, we'll have to ask him then.
Yeah, because that's a pretty significant thing. That's something. That's a kind of experience that may shape a lot of your tendencies that you do as an adult. Yeah, that was something I wanted. Dang it.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice guy.
Anything you want to wrap with? Any follow-ups to anything?
I'm not a rapper.
No, WRAP.
No, I just thought it was cool that I hadn't heard his music. I hadn't heard of him prior to you letting me know he was going to be on a couple weeks ago, and that didn't happen for different circumstances. But then his music came on organically, and just with my phone in my pocket, my headphones in, and a couple times I was like, who is this? And I checked and I go, oh, that's okay. That's Dope Knife. Like 3 or 4 times it happened with different songs. And so I thought that was just cool.
From his Dope One album or from just
I can't tell you, but I've been listening to lyrics and I'm like, wow, this guy's got some shit to say. And I just look and I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what albums that it was playing.
Yeah, I really like him. We, Dibs was we were gonna do a question from Dibs, but he, Dibs liked him so much, didn't know much about him, but liked his music so much. He was like, I didn't know. He didn't necessarily have a question that he was gonna
ask him.
He likes to kind of fuck around a bit, but he was like, it was like so good. I didn't really have anything I wanted to fuck around with. So next time. Yeah, next time, because I definitely want to have him on again. I want to talk to him about the whale story and a few other things. But yeah, I want to thank him for the.
Did I think you were talking about whales?
Maybe, but maybe you did. He fell into a blue whale.
No,
he fell into an orca.
At first when you said, "Oh well," I think I was because I was like, "Oh, he was on the coast in Sierra Leone and Liberia."
Well, yeah, and then speaking of whales, the two.
Oh no, you said there was a whale on the cover. I was thinking of a mammal.
No, actual whale. Yeah, like the whale piece that I did with my the ODB mining tree. Remember that piece?
Yes.
And then I painted a whale on there, and it was called like the Wu-Tang whale and the Wu-Tang well and the ODB mining tree.
Yes.
Anyway, you know what 2 whales are found in Antarctica? In the Antarctic?
I'm guessing a narwhal. Who else goes pretty far south? Is the beluga down there? No. The narwhals, I know they're in the North Pole. They don't go to the South Pole?
Well, here's the 2 whales. An orca.
Okay, that makes sense.
And a blue whale. Yeah, and the orcas eat the seals and
but they migrate up north and
but
south.
I mean these
go
are
both,
in the Antarctic.
Both poles.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on DOD5. DOD45. Hey, make sure you go over there and leave some comments wherever you listen to the podcast. Also engage with us on the DOD45W Instagram page. And always at artbytai.com. You can get my artwork there. Got the puzzles coming out for the holidays. Get a puzzle, get some presents for your family. If you're going to put in orders for presents, the deadline is December 15th if you want them to arrive by Christmas. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. I'm Tai of Art by Tai, and this is
me.
Me is Adrienne. That's it for now. Peace.
DOD45.
Thank you for joining in on yet another episode of DOD45. Please hit the subscribe or follow button so that you never miss an episode. You can even go one step further by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts to help other interesting people like yourself find our podcast. You can find me at Art by Tai on all the socials or at artbytai.com. If you'd like to follow this podcast on social media, we are at DOD45W on Instagram, or you can go over to our website, DOD45.com, where you can shoot us an email, join our mailing list, and watch all of our past episodes. Thanks for joining us. Peace.